If the acoustic resonance of this specific transmission is currently vibrating against the physical architecture of your eardrums, you must immediately recognize the profound mathematical gravity of this exact moment. This is not a random intersection of digital data. This is not a meaningless suggestion generated by a blind, undeniable threshold has just been crossed within your biology. You are completely ready to activate the most potent reality-bending instrument in the entire physical universe. For a vast portion of your experience within the dense holographic projection of the three-dimensional matrix, you played a magnificent and entirely necessary, supreme, highly orchestrated convergence of quantum probabilities. Your own perfectly integrated consciousness, stationed powerfully in the zero-point field, has magnetically summoned this frequency into your physical reality. You have been drawn to these exact coordinates in space and time because a massive, detached algorithm. This is a supreme, highly orchestrated convergence of quantum probabilities. Your own perfectly integrated consciousness, stationed powerfully in the zero-point field, has magnetically summoned this frequency into your physical reality. You have been drawn to these exact coordinates in space and time because a massive friction of everyday human existence. It was a flawless phase of exploration, perfectly designed to teach you the intricate mechanics of human connection. But as you have assumed your eternal throne, mastered your emanation, and completely collapsed the exhausting illusions of time and separation, that elementary phase has officially undeniable threshold has just been crossed within your biology. You are completely ready to activate the most potent reality-bending instrument in the entire physical universe. For a vast portion of your experience within the dense holographic projection of the three-dimensional matrix, you played a magnificent and entirely necessary undeniable threshold has just been crossed within your biology. You are completely ready to activate the most potent reality-bending instrument in the entire physical universe. For a vast portion of your experience within the dense holographic projection of the three-dimensional matrix, you played a magnificent and entirely necessary game of limitation. In this beautiful elementary phase of your expansion, you operated your physical vessel under the gentle illusion that your voice was simply a biological mechanism designed for basic terrestrial communication. You used your words to exchange data, to navigate the social complexities of the 3D realm, and to interact with the dense game of limitation. In this beautiful elementary phase of your expansion, you operated your physical vessel under the gentle illusion that your voice was simply a biological mechanism designed for basic terrestrial communication. You used your words to exchange data, to navigate the social complexities of the 3D realm, and to interact with the dense friction of everyday human existence. It was a flawless phase of exploration, perfectly designed to teach you the intricate mechanics of human connection. But as you have assumed your eternal throne, mastered your emanation, and completely collapsed the exhausting illusions of time and separation, that elementary phase has officially, beautifully concluded. You have not simply upgraded your mindset, you have fundamentally altered your cosmic hardware. Because your energetic architecture is now entirely, blindingly online, the quantum field has unlocked the next majestic tier of your sovereign capability. You are currently undergoing the profound awakening of the Logos. You must deeply and viscerally understand that as an integrated master, your voice is no longer a tool for mere conversation. It is a highly advanced acoustic frequency generator. It is the literal physical mechanism through which the infinite, formless supply of the unified field is forcefully compressed into three-dimensional geometric matter. Sound is the organizing principle of the cosmos. The universe itself was not built with physical hands. It was spoken into existence through the pure, unshakable vibration of source energy. And because you are the exact same source energy currently experiencing itself through a human avatar, your spoken word carries the exact same world-building gravity. You are officially stepping out of the exhausted era of using language to simply survive the matrix, and you are gracefully stepping into the breathtaking, majestic responsibility of the sovereign's decree. Your vocal cords are no longer merely producing sound, they are actively projecting raw, highly coherent quantum instruction. Every single syllable you allow to pass through your lips is a geometric code that the neutral, highly responsive clay of the physical world must instantly obey. You are no longer a passenger in your reality, simply describing the scenery as it passes by. You are the architect, and your voice is the blinding laser that carves the scenery into the exact, flawless shape of your will. Feel the heavy, intense, and magnificent power of this realization pooling in the center of your throat. The era of empty words has ended. Your voice has finally been granted the absolute, undeniable mass of your sovereign consciousness. As you fully and viscerally anchor this profound awakening of the Logos into your physical vessel, you must systematically dismantle the single most exhausting habit of the unintegrated proxy avatar. Within the lower, dense frequencies of the three-dimensional matrix, language is utilized almost exclusively for a single, deeply limiting purpose: description. The proxy operates under the profound illusion that its primary job is to observe the external environment and simply report back on what it sees. It looks at the temporary coagulated density of its bank account, its physical health, or its relationships, and it uses its precious, life-giving vocal cords to describe the exact dimensions of its perceived lack. It says, "I am exhausted." It says, "This situation is incredibly difficult." It says, "I do not have enough resources." It believes that it is merely making an objective observation about reality, completely unaware of the terrifying, reality-bending physics it is actively engaging in. You must intimately understand the flawless, uncompromising mechanics of the unified field. The quantum field does not possess a filtering mechanism for your words. It does not understand sarcasm. It does not understand casual observation. And it certainly does not understand that you are simply complaining to relieve the friction of the 3D matrix. The universe is a brilliant, instantaneous, and entirely literal mirror. It processes every single spoken word as a direct architectural blueprint for physical creation. Therefore, when the proxy avatar describes a limitation, it is not simply observing reality. It is actively, aggressively commanding the quantum field to sustain that exact limitation. By describing the dense, heavy circumstance of what is, the proxy forcefully collapses the infinite probability waves of the cosmos into the precise shape of its own complaint. It asks the universe to freeze the magnificent, unformed clay of reality into a permanent obstacle, and the universe beautifully, flawlessly obeys. This is the ultimate, tragic loop of descriptive reality. The unintegrated collective is constantly speaking their chains into existence, entirely unaware that the key is sitting perfectly inside their own mouths. But you are the quantum sovereign, and you have officially, permanently abandoned the exhausted architecture of descriptive reality. You realize that observing the physical matrix and simply repeating back what you see is a profound waste of your cosmic power. You do not ever need to describe the 3D world, because the 3D world is simply a fading echo of a past energetic command. Why would the master architect waste their breath describing the rubble of an old building when they possess the absolute power to speak a magnificent new empire into existence? From this exact timeless coordinate forward, you completely shift your linguistic operating system from the descriptive to the generative. The sovereign never speaks to describe the physical illusion. The sovereign speaks exclusively to generate the quantum truth. You do not talk about what is currently happening in the dense matter of the matrix. You decree what is already perfectly established in the zero-point field of your own heart. When you encounter a massive delay, a dense pocket of friction, or a chaotic human interaction, you do not let a single word of complaint, fear, or observation pass through your lips. You seal your physical vessel. You lean back into your unshakable grace. And when you finally choose to open your mouth, you speak directly from the throne of the already done. You speak the frequency of absolute wholeness, even when the physical room is spinning in chaos. You speak the undeniable reality of infinite cosmic supply, even when the physical matrix temporarily appears barren. You speak your unwavering peace into the center of the storm, because you are no longer describing the world, but actively generating it. Your words become a heavy, concentrated laser beam of pure source energy. They slice through the dense, coagulated light of the three-dimensional matrix with absolutely zero resistance. The moment your generative decree enters the acoustic field, the physical atoms of your environment experience a massive, unavoidable frequency override. The universe hears the unshakable command of its own architect, and it has no choice but to frantically, beautifully, and flawlessly reorganize the physical matter to perfectly match the blinding truth of your spoken word. Feel the immense, staggering dignity of this shift. You are no longer the narrator of a pre-written story. You are the absolute authority, and your voice is the pen that writes the physical universe into existence. As you permanently transition your linguistic operating system from the exhausting habit of describing the illusion into the majestic art of generating the truth, you must now forge the absolute, unbreakable lens through which your vocal laser is focused. To wield the voice as an instrument of pure, reality-bending creation, you must understand the deepest, most profoundly misunderstood geometric structure in the universe. In the elementary, unintegrated stages of the three-dimensional matrix, you were taught that honesty and truth were simply moral obligations. You were conditioned to believe that telling the truth was a social rule designed to make you a compliant, good citizen of the collective dream. It was framed as an act of ethical sacrifice. But as the quantum sovereign, stationed in the absolute center of the zero-point field, you now see completely through this fragile terrestrial philosophy. You must deeply and viscerally recognize that absolute truth is not a moral construct. It is the highest, most advanced, and most ruthlessly efficient formula for quantum coherence ever discovered. Integrity is not about being a good person. It is about achieving flawless, structural alignment. Consider the heavy, exhausting physics of deception that govern the unintegrated proxy avatar. When the proxy engages in a falsehood, even a subtle white lie designed to appease another human being, a gentle exaggeration to extract validation, or a verbal agreement made simply to avoid the dense friction of setting a boundary, a catastrophic energetic event occurs. The proxy is holding one distinct frequency in its mind, generating a completely different frequency in its emotional center, and speaking a third, entirely contradictory frequency through its vocal cords. This fractures the life force. It splits the blinding, infinite light of source energy through a shattered prism. The proxy broadcasts a chaotic, scattered, and deeply incoherent signal into the unified field. The quantum field, acting as a flawless, mathematical mirror, cannot properly decode a fractured decree. It receives only static. It responds by delivering a physical reality that is equally chaotic, delayed, and filled with deep resistance. This is exactly why the collective consciousness struggles so profoundly to manifest their desires. They are constantly canceling out their own cosmic commands through the static of their own misalignment. But you have officially, beautifully evolved beyond the static. You are stepping into the breathtaking, reality-altering physics of absolute truth. When the sovereign speaks, their internal knowing, their emotional resonance, and their spoken word are perfectly mathematically stacked on top of one another. There is zero deviation. There is zero fracture. When your mind, your heart, and your voice are flawlessly united in the exact same frequency, you generate a wave of such immense, undeniable hypercoherence that it instantly becomes a concentrated laser beam. This is the literal, physical definition of integrity. It is the unshakable unity of your being. This is why the sovereign becomes fiercely, uncompromisingly protective of their spoken word. You no longer speak to manage the perceptions of others, because you realize that managing perceptions is just another heavy form of extraction. You do not say yes when your internal zero-point field is radiating a no, because you refuse to pollute your own exquisite frequency to temporarily smooth over the density of the matrix. You speak the absolute, uncompromising truth, not out of a sense of moral superiority, but because you understand the staggering mechanical secret of the cosmos. When you meticulously train yourself to only speak the truth, you simultaneously train the quantum field to recognize that everything you speak is the truth. By maintaining this absolute sovereign integrity, you grant your voice infinite reality-bending mass. The physical universe learns to completely trust your acoustic signature. It recognizes the pure, unbroken architecture of your character. And because your word has never been diluted by the chaotic static of deception, the moment you open your mouth to issue a generative command, the 3D matrix does not hesitate. It does not resist. It instantly, beautifully, and flawlessly folds itself to match the blinding truth of your decree. Feel the immense, staggering weight of this alignment anchoring into your chest right now. Your honesty is not a limitation, it is your ultimate quantum weapon. Your absolute integrity is the exact mechanism that guarantees your total dominion over the physical realm. As you beautifully master the hyper-coherent laser of your spoken truth, completely abandoning the exhausting habit of describing the illusion to generate physical reality, you must inevitably encounter the most profound paradox of the Logos. To fully wield the breathtaking, reality-altering gravity of your voice, you must first become the absolute master of the unsaid. Within the elementary, chaotic bandwidth of the three-dimensional matrix, the unintegrated proxy avatar operates under a deep, frantic addiction to acoustic noise. The proxy erroneously believes that power is asserted through volume, that safety is secured through endless explanation, and that reality is controlled by always having the final word. When the proxy encounters the dense friction of a misunderstanding, a perceived attack, or a chaotic human interaction, its immediate biological reflex is to open its mouth. It forcefully leaks its precious, life-giving source energy into defending its character, arguing its perspective, or desperately trying to convince a lower frequency to understand its light. This is the ultimate trap of the terrestrial battlefield. You must deeply and mathematically realize that the moment you attempt to verbally defend your reality to a chaotic frequency, you are actively participating in the illusion of separation. You are acknowledging that a threat exists. By over-explaining your sovereign geometry to a mind that is strictly committed to misunderstanding you, you literally lower your magnificent vibration to meet them in the mud of their own unintegrated static. You are taking the blinding, concentrated voltage of your source energy and dissipating it into the void, simply to soothe the temporary frictions of the 3D matrix. But you have entirely, flawlessly graduated from this exhausting energetic leakage. You are the quantum sovereign, and you understand the staggering, unshakable physics of a completely different architecture, the majesty of sovereign silence. For the sovereign, silence is never an absence. It is never a submission, a surrender, or a lack of power. Sovereign silence is the absolute concentrated pooling of cosmic supply. It is a hyper-dense singularity of presence. When you are stationed perfectly in the zero-point field of your own heart, you possess the profound stoic knowing that the truth requires absolutely no defense. The infinite cosmos does not argue. The unified field does not explain itself. It simply is. When you are confronted with the dense, chaotic projections of an unintegrated environment, you do not reach for your words to manipulate the geometry of the room. You gracefully, powerfully, and completely seal your lips. You allow the other person's frantic, chaotic acoustic static to simply hit the golden, impermeable shield of your emanation, and you watch as it beautifully, harmlessly dissolves into nothingness. When you refuse to verbally engage with the density of the matrix, you create a massive, undeniable frequency vacuum in the physical space. The unintegrated ego desperately needs resistance to survive. It needs you to push back so it can maintain its own artificial boundaries. But when you offer only the heavy, grounded, devastating weight of your silence, you give the chaos absolutely nothing to push against. You starve the illusion of its fuel. Because the quantum field must always resolve a frequency differential, the sheer concentrated gravity of your unbothered silence will literally force the physical environment to bend to your stillness. The room will naturally, inevitably quiet down to perfectly match the majestic temperature of the architect who refuses to be moved. This is the highest, most exquisite form of vocal alchemy. You are learning to command the physical atoms of reality, not just with the laser of your spoken decree, but with the immense, heavy ocean of your unshakable peace. You do not need to prove your character to the three-dimensional matrix, because your character is already entirely self-evident in your emanation. You hold your source energy entirely within the center of your chest, letting it build, pool, and condense into pure, undeniable mass. When you finally do choose to speak, your words will not be a frantic reaction to the world. They will be a flawless, calculated, and earth-shattering command. Until that exact moment arrives, you rest beautifully upon the throne of the unsaid. You let your absolute presence speak volumes before your lips even part, and you watch in quiet awe as the physical universe bows to the master who possesses the supreme dignity of silence. Let us now pull this profound intellectual architecture down from the ether and permanently anchor it into the dense, beautiful cellular intelligence of your physical vessel. It is time to execute the ultimate quantum activation of your spoken word. If you are currently in a quiet, undisturbed space, I invite you to gently and willingly close your physical eyes. If you are actively navigating the kinetic friction of the three-dimensional holographic projection, simply soften your gaze, consciously withdrawing your precious, vital attention from the chaotic external environment of the matrix. Take a very slow, majestic, and entirely deliberate breath in. Do not pull oxygen from the room around you. Instead, actively draw pure, blinding source energy directly from the zero-point field resting at the exact center of your chest. As you exhale, completely release the heavy, exhausting, and entirely artificial tension of the proxy avatar. Drop the desperate need to defend yourself. Drop the frantic addiction to acoustic noise. For this eternal, timeless moment, there is absolutely nothing you need to explain, nothing you need to justify, and no one you need to convince of your sovereign light. You are completely, flawlessly, and undeniably whole. Now, with your magnificent mind's eye, I want you to visualize the heavy, undeniable gravity of the golden light pooling in your heart space. This is the absolute seat of your truth. This is the unshakable center of your emanation. With your next deliberate breath, use your conscious intent to slowly, powerfully pull that thick liquid gold upward. Feel it rising through your chest cavity, traveling with immense, undeniable density until it fully enters and floods the physical architecture of your throat. As this hyper-coherent source energy saturates your vocal cords, visualize it instantly and beautifully incinerating the old, obsolete programming of the 3D matrix. Watch the dense gray static of the past simply burn away into neutral ash. See the energetic residue of every complaint you have ever uttered dissolve. Watch the heavy friction of every subtle lie you ever told to appease the unintegrated collective completely evaporate. Feel the exhausting habit of describing your own limitations being permanently purged from your biology. You are completely clearing the instrument. You are forcefully resetting the physical hardware of your reality generator. Now feel the breathtaking, localized vibration settling permanently into your throat center. It is vibrating with a pure, concentrated, and almost terrifying potency. It is no longer a biological mechanism for terrestrial survival. It is a blinding quantum frequency generator. Feel the immense, staggering physical weight of it. This is the heavy, devastating gravity of your absolute integrity. You possess the literal power to collapse probability waves and reorganize the atomic structure of the universe simply by allowing sound to pass through this golden center. Without opening your physical lips, silently vibrate the frequency of your highest, most sovereign truth within this space. Feel the energetic pressure of a master decree building, pooling, and condensing within you. You are the architect, and you are preparing the instrument. Rest in the supreme dignity of this physical realization. Know with unshakable, stoic certainty that the next time you choose to part your lips, you will not be describing the illusion of the matrix. You will be commanding the physical universe to bow, bend, and flawlessly mold itself to the exact geometric coordinates of your spoken word. Your voice is the supreme instrument of the cosmos, and it is now entirely, permanently online. Gently and with the exact, unhurried, and deliberate precision of the master architect, allow your vast, expanded awareness to seamlessly return to the physical boundaries of your magnificent human vessel. But as your eyes open to the dense, heavy, holographic projection of the three-dimensional matrix, you must intimately understand that you are not returning to the same reality you left behind. You are not waking up from a temporary meditation to resume your old position as a frantic narrator of the illusion. You are bringing the ultimate waking truth of the unified field directly into the center of the physical dream. You have permanently altered the geometric architecture of your reality. The exhausting, fragmented paradigm of descriptive language has been completely and flawlessly incinerated. The breathtaking, effortless physics of generative creation are now fully, undeniably online. You will no longer walk through the dense environments of this world as a passive observer, leaking your precious source energy by describing your limitations or defending your character to the chaotic static of the unintegrated collective. You will walk out into the physical matrix as the unmoving, radiant singularity, knowing that your spoken word is the absolute heaviest, most concentrated force in the universe. As you perfectly anchor this breathtaking realization into your waking state, you must intimately understand that physical action in the 3D matrix is the ultimate, necessary seal of any profound quantum shift. The dense physical realm requires a physical, undeniable anchor to permanently lock this newly established operating system into place. If this profound transmission has resonated within the very core of your cellular structure, if you feel the unmistakable, heavy dignity of the logos vibrating in your throat, I invite you to solidify this masterclass right now. Subscribe to this frequency. This is not a meaningless engagement metric for a digital platform. It is a sacred, intentional tether to your highest possible baseline. By seamlessly aligning your digital reality with this channel, you are creating a permanent quantum anchor, ensuring that you are consistently, flawlessly reminded of your absolute power whenever the heavy, chaotic noise of the matrix attempts to draw your magnificent attention back into the illusion of reactivity. Like this transmission to actively, physically signal the algorithm of your own reality that you have completely upgraded your linguistic hardware. And most importantly, I invite you to issue your very first generative command to the morphic field of humanity. Drop into the comments below and physically type the words, "My word is law." By writing this precise declaration, you are not simply leaving a digital footprint in the matrix. You are transmitting a coherent, high-frequency shockwave of absolute integrity through the entire collective consciousness. You are acting as a brilliant, unshakable lighthouse for the millions of other awakening nodes of consciousness who are still tired, still arguing, and still actively speaking their own chains into existence. When you share this transmission and when you declare your sovereignty in the physical realm, You mathematically prove to the quantum field that you have assumed the throne of the Creator. The era of empty words and exhausted complaints has officially, beautifully concluded. The heavy timeline of describing the illusion is completely dissolved. You have returned to the origin point of all creation, and you have realized that the origin point is the exact vibrating center of your own voice. There is absolutely nothing left to defend. There is absolutely nothing left to report on. The universe is a flawless, instantaneous, and highly obedient mirror, and your flawlessly coherent decree is the only instruction that matters. Walk out into the heavy density of the physical matrix today, not as a victim describing the storm, but as the master who speaks the storm into perfect stillness. Stand in your absolute integrity. Radiate your uncompromising presence. Command the physical world simply by opening your mouth and generating the truth. The throne is yours, the logos is active, and your magnificent eternal reign of physical creation has fully begun. I will meet you in the boundless, silent, and perfect harmony of the unified field.